and I'm currently doing an internship with ANSYS in Waterloo. So as you know, for now it's working from home. And for today's session, what I planned is I have a short presentation prepared for you, and which will give you an insight about how you can implement ANSYS in several areas. And as Abbas was saying, it's a very wide ranging software. So it goes from any kind of like very simple physics simulation to a very complex simulation. So let me begin by sharing the screen. Oh, it says it's disabled. Abbas. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's get started. So this is a brief agenda of what I'll be talking about today. We'll start with a brief introduction to engineering simulation, and then we'll move on to ANSYS and the types of simulation that one can do using ANSYS tools. And then we'll look into some real life environment and situation where ANSYS can greatly benefit the designers. And I'll talk about one of my projects. And then we could go about setting up a basic simulation on ANSYS. But that depends if the screen sharing, there's no lag and everything is as per plan. So let's see about the setting up thing towards the end. And one thing is, I'm not sure about how much or what sort of experience you already have in ANSYS. So if and in any engineering simulation, there's a lot of detail. So just feel free to ask any questions you have at any time,
Okay, thank
or
you.
yeah, or just don't get stressed if something is not clear at this point.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll ask
Okay,
if I have a question. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, engineering simulation enables us to model and analyze our designs in in a computer-based environment using specific computer tools. In simple words, we can test our design in a given situation in a real-world environment virtually. For example, this is the Mercedes 2019 Formula One car, and each and every component of this car, especially this front wing and the rear wings, the diffuser, and so all these parts they hugely impact the performance of the car. So say we want to study the front wing. So what we can do is we can create a virtual environment, and we can model the front wing using CAD software, and then we can perform a simulation that enables us to see how the airflow around it travels, what are the pressure contours, and like study all the aspects of the flow parameters. So this is very important because if you look a little more, um, if you look at the details of the airflow, it can hugely impact how the car will perform. Like it affects the downforce, it affects the drag,
Hmm.
and there are a lot of parameters that it affects. Okay, so why do we need engineering simulation? So look at these equations. These are the Navier-Stokes equations, and they govern a general fluid flow. And these are very complex equations. So in like what the equations that you find in your high school textbooks or um, junior level engineering textbooks, those are the simplified equations where we make some assumptions, and that makes the equation solvable. Now, most of the times in real world situations, these equations do not have an exact solution. So what we do is we use numerical methods and we kind of break this equation into discrete, like say we use numerical methods to kind of achieve an approximate solution. And that is a very challenging process. So what we can do is we can just leave it to the software. And that's where all these engineering simulation tools come into picture. Like one more need is it saves a lot of cost, it reduces the time, and it saves efforts. So this is an example where an actual prototype of a car, we perform a crash test and we kind of look at how when the car impacts a surface, how it affects the driver. So there's a dummy model inside here. So we study how it impacts the dummy driver and like the stress distribution, the failure, the cracks, and all sort of things. So as you can see, this is a costly test, right? Because we are actually crashing a car into a wall. So instead, what we can do is we could simulate this virtually using explicit dynamics. So can you see this, like the thing working, the GIF?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
So in the simulation, the one you showed me, the explicit dynamics, is it perfectly? Are there like, is it like perfectly simulated, or is there some like, are there things that aren't on the simulation that are in real life?
It actually depends. There's always a trade-off between what level of accuracy you want and the cost that you are willing to put in.
Mm-hmm.
So it is possible to model the like almost exact situation in a simulation.
Yeah.
But again, there are a few assumptions, and it comes with experience. Like the level of accuracy, it comes with experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
So these are some of the CAE packages that are very popular around the world. So we have SolidWorks simulation. We have a lot of products from SimScale. We have MATLAB tools, and then we have ANSYS. There are many more, but for now, these are the four I wanted to present. So let's get into a little bit of what ANSYS is. So it was founded in 1917 by Dr. Swanson. He is a pioneer in the finite element analysis. Finite element methods. It employs more than 4,400 professionals around the globe. It's headquartered in Canonsburg in US. And as I said, any engineering simulation can deal with wide-ranging and multidisciplinary simulation. And it basically the goal of the company is to enable customers to design concepts into successful innovative products. And as we were talking about it, it reduces the time and the cost. And ANSYS is a global leader in engineering simulation. So if we talk about from my experience in mechanical, ANSYS tools can be used to simulate fluid flows. We could study the structural behavior of components. We could perform electronic simulation, and we could like further dwell into electronics and look at semiconductors and embedded software. I think Abbas has a better experience in these electronic stuff, and I've never tried intense simulation on any of these three, but my experience is in structural, fluid, and multi-physics simulation, which involves both fluid and structures.
Yeah, I would say on the mechanical side,
yeah,
or sorry, on RF or electrical side, we simulate, but at the end of the day, our components they sit in a structure, whether it's a housing or something that's holding it. So it comes back to somehow mechanically.
Okay, yeah, the design of, say, the cooling, cooling fins, micro cooling fins, and stuff like that, and the housing, etc. Okay, so let me briefly explain the background process of the solver. So this is the physical problem, right? As we were talking about the Mercedes Formula One car, we want to simulate how the air flows around this front wing and then around the car. So what we do is, so we consider this as our physical problem. We then model this using the computer-aided design packages. Say, like, as you are experienced in Spacelane, you might also know about Design Modeler. So these two are the most commonly used designing softwares in ANSYS. So you create the model, and then that's the user input. Now, all these things, like the assumptions, the assumptions and physical principles, we assign these values by entering the initial values and the boundary values. So as we'll see later in the simulation, while we do a simulation in ANSYS, we apply the boundary conditions and we provide some initial values to the problem. So our end, the user inputs are limited to these. And once that is done, the ANSYS solver, it assigns a suitable mathematical model and then solves it using a numerical method. And what it does is it finds the values. Now, say we were to find pressure values along the flow. What ANSYS will do is it will not calculate pressure like as a continuous variable across the domain. It will split the domain and it will calculate the values at specific points. So say, like, you see the lines, right? The values are not calculated about like the complete line. There are a few points that it calculates, and then we use something which is called post processing, and we kind of connect the dots and we form the pattern. I mean, the solver forms the pattern, but we use something called post processing. Now, one important thing is most of the early simulation users, they kind of just view this model as a button pushing process. So basically, you model the design, you provide the geometry to the solver, and you just push some buttons, and it solves it. But it's very important that you actually understand the physics behind it by some hand and do some hand calculations so that you have an idea of what the solution might look like. So it's an intuitive understanding of how the flow should perform around this object or how the structure should behave in this environment and other stuff like that.
So what kind of specific hand calculations would you do for the physical problem? Like an example. Do you have an example of a specific calculation you would do, or?
So say we are doing a steady state thermal analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So we know the governing equations, and we know how the model, like when we look at the problem and the boundary conditions, we should get an intuition of how the final output should look like. So say there's like two surfaces, one is at a higher temperature and the other one is at a lower temperature. So it's very intuitive that, like, at a steady state, there would be temperature distribution, which, like, the heat flow would be from the side which is at a higher temperature to the side which is at a lower temperature. And at a steady state, the temperature distribution would be uniform around the plate. So that's intuitive. The other way of doing it is basically applying the finite element method on the governing equation and then having a rough idea of what values of final temperature you are expecting.
Oh, and you like look at the speed that it takes for the both materials to like get to a certain temperature. In a way.
Sorry, what? I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Do you also calculate the speed it takes for those two materials, since they're at different temperatures? The speed it takes to reach like a neutral temperature, almost the same temperature. You guys do that, or?
I mean, it's a steady state, so it would eventually reach a common temperature. But I don't think we need to calculate the time taken to achieve that state. Yeah. So let's move on to applications. So one very prominent application of simulation is topology optimization. So the aim is to keep the structural integrity of the product as it was, but to reduce the material and improve design. So as you can see, over iterating over the designs, one can achieve a reduction of surface area from around 90 centimeter squares to just like around 30 centimeters square. So it saves a lot of material, and this is especially useful in 3D printing, because the more material you can save, it ends up reducing the overall cost of production. Say you are producing some component in bulk, so over the factory line, it saves a lot of money.
So how do you reduce material without reducing like structural integrity, almost like the strength of the product? You guys like have a simulation that shows you like spots where there isn't as much pressure, so you kind of take from there, or is it kind of random?
It's actually ANSYS has a specific suite for this. It's called design optimization. So you just have to provide the solver with your geometry, and then it and the boundary conditions and the loading conditions. So it iterates over the design, and then it will give you a couple of design options which would still serve the purpose without failing, and at the same time reduce the material.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but once you get this design, it's always better to kind of do a physical prototyping and then test the design in a real world
yeah, of course.
situation. Yeah. So these are the structural function or application of ANSYS. You can study the loads, you can study the stress, the stresses that are being generated inside a component. You can study the deformation. So the first one is a connecting rod, which is used in IC engines, and the second one is a truss-based bridge design. We could also use computational fluid dynamics to kind of analyze the performance or in specific sports. For example, bike racing. So what they're doing here is they're kind of analyzing the coefficient of drag on a person at different orientations. And here, once again, I think this was a similar setup. They were trying to analyze the flow around the person and how it will affect the overall performance. So we could also use computational fluid dynamics to study the fluid flow around an object. So this is an airfoil, and the inlet air hits the surface, and it continues to travel along the surface of the airfoil. So we could study the pressure controls, we could study the separation of flow, we could study the velocities, and several other things. Okay. So this is one of my projects where our team, we plan to study the performance of cooling fins. So this is an internal combustion engine, air-cooled internal combustion engine. And this is the cylinder. Now what happens is the combustion process takes place inside the cylinder, and it makes cylinder's temperature go very high. So our aim is to reduce the temperature of the cylinder, and what we do it by extending these surfaces on it, which are called cooling fins. What it does is it basically extracts heat from the cylinder, and then the air that flows around this, it's it convects the heat to the air, and so the heat extracts the air extracts heat from these fins. So that finally lets the cylinder temperature go down.
Supposed to create more surface area so that so it can cool down faster.
Yeah, that's
okay.
yeah. So we started with a very simple model. We were looking at the curvature and the design of the cooling fin plates, the fins, and how it would affect the temperature change. So after doing a very simple initial study, we kind of model a more realistic cooling fin design, and then we performed a coupled simulation wherein we passed uh, we passed a flow of air, and we placed the cylinder inside a cavity, and then we performed a fluid solid thermal interaction study wherein we were able to see how the engine or how this design would behave in a real world situation. Okay, so what I was thinking is I could briefly demonstrate the ANSYS solver and the interface. Abbas, do you think that would be something good to do?
I think it'd be good though. Yeah, it would give me like a kind of introduction almost. Because the system I have Space Claim on for ANSYS Space Claim, and it's kind of like it is a bit confusing. I'm getting the hang of it, but there's a couple of things here and there that I still have to learn.
I mostly prefer Design Modeler, and I'll show you how it's pretty much very similar, but a few changes in how the interface looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so general step is you basically provide the solver with a geometry. You create mesh, and then you provide the initial and boundary conditions, and then you let the solver solve the problem, and it will produce results which are usually contours and plots. You could also save animations and videos of, say, deformation or the flow characteristics. So let's take a look at it. Can you see my ANSYS screen now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So this is the menu bar. It's very similar to any other software or interface. One thing is, say you mess up with any of the components on the screen, right? And say you close this and you want to go back to it. So one way of doing this, you could use the right click, and you have all the options listed over here under new analysis system, new component systems.
What do those do? What are those exactly?
So if you see these are the systems. These are the predefined solver systems. So remember I was telling you let me go back to the slide. Remember, I mentioned that the solver automatically assigns a mathematical model to a given problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we do by stating the analysis system. Say that's a fluid flow, you'll probably use Fluent or CFX. And if it's a structural problem, you would be using either static structural or transient structural. If it's thermal, you would use one of these. If it's a rigid dynamics problem. So these are all like basically systems which enables that particular mathematical model.
So can you give me like almost like a step by step, kind of like as a mechanical engineer, say you get like a product, you get an idea, and you want to make it into like a product or into a part. So can you give me like a step by step? So you have the idea, right? What do you do after you have the idea? Do you like design it first? Do you like? I'm kind of unfamiliar in the area. So
Okay.
can you give me like a step by step, almost like what you do with the mathematical model, and then the next step after that, and you know.
Yeah, sure. So let's do a simple analysis. Say you want to study the temperature distribution inside a plate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have is say we have these two surfaces which so we have this surface and we have this surface, the top and the left surfaces. We basically will insulate it, so there's no heat transfer across these surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that there's a convective heat transfer through this surface on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that the bottommost surface is at a higher temperature. Okay.
Yeah.
So looking at this problem, we can intuitively see that this is at a hotter temperature. The air around it is at a lower temperature, at ambient temperature as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's convective heat transfer that's taking place through this surface. And these two surfaces, there's no heat transfer. So there's no heat coming in, no heat going out from these two surfaces. So what we expect is we would expect that heat would flow from this surface towards the ambient temperature, that is the air. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's model this problem in ANSYS and we'll look at the final result. So for this simulation, I'll be using a steady state thermal setup. So you drag it. Are you familiar with how you use ANSYS, or do you want me to go through each step?
I guess it's up to you, honestly. I just wanted to like see how exactly like what goes through an engineer's like kind of like what's their day-to-day kind of like step by step. But I mean, I guess we could do a little bit of both if you want. It's up to you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with all the steps then. Probably it will help the other students if they are viewing this. Okay. So you right click on the geometry. So if you have a geometry pre-made, then you can just import the geometry.
Mm-hmm.
And this usually works with a lot of like a wide ranging formats of geometry, say .step files, .iges files, and things like that. For now, I'll be using Design Modeler to create a simple geometry. So usually you can check the progress by clicking on this show progress icon. So when you solve the simulation, it kind of gives you the status and the details. So that's the interface of Design Modeler. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to create a sketch that will represent this solid block.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to sketching over here. It kind of gives you a coordinate system. So if you could like navigate around this using the mouse keys.
Mm-hmm.
And if you click on this axis, it gives you a 2D coordinate system. So let's start by drawing a rectangle, right? So you can see a rectangle here. Click on that and then just click on the other endpoint. So that would give you a basic rectangle. And now what you want to do is you want to give some dimensions. Click on dimensions and general is already highlighted. So just have to go to the line, click on it, drag it and give another left click. Same with the other side. And now we have V1 and H2 here, right? So V1 represents the vertical height and H2 is the horizontal side length. Let's give some random values. And for okay. Now what you want to do is, this is just a sketch, right? But
yeah.
Our problem, we need a surface. So there's a very simple option. You just go to concept on the menu bar and click on surfaces from sketch. And then the base object would be, so this is a tree diagram representation of all the components and all the steps.
Mm-hmm.
So on the XY plane, we have a sketch called sketch1. Click on that, it selects the sketch, and then you can click on apply. Then we click on generate, and that will give us a surface. So now we have a two-dimensional surface which we can work upon. So that's about the geometry. We are ready with the geometry. We can close the Design Modeler. Sorry. And now the next step is to create or to generate a mesh. That we do using something called mechanical. So right click on model, click on edit, or you could double click. That works too. Okay. So now ANSYS provides you a very easy way to create a default mesh. So what you want to do is you just have to click. Okay, one thing is, as you can see, there's a question mark on in front of geometry and surface body.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go there and see why this is. why there's not a, so if a component is complete and ready to go, there should be a green tick in front of it. So the problem is there's no thickness.
Yeah.
But for now we want to do a 2D analysis. So ideally there shouldn't be any thickness. We already have a surface. So the problem is we have to change the dimension from 3D to a 2D. So that basically solves the issue. See, the question mark is replaced by a green tick.
What about this question mark for the steady state thermal under solution?
So we haven't reached there. So we didn't give any inputs as of now.
Oh, okay.
So it's still waiting for some inputs to be provided by the user. And if you can see a lightning sign in front of mesh, that's basically it's not generated yet. Okay, so now the geometry is ready. We can move on to the next step, which is to create a mesh. So to create a default mesh, what you want to do is you can right click on mesh and hit generate mesh.
So what exactly is a mesh?
So mesh is basically when we solve a structural problem, we use something called finite element method. What we do is we divide the domain into smaller elements.
Okay.
And we have so what happens is the solver kind of solves the equations in each of these smaller domains. And then we combine the result to we iterate through the process, so it keeps solving at these points. At each elements we have, so inside each elements we have some nodes. So as I was telling you, the solver doesn't solve the problem over the complete domain. It solves at specific points. So those points are nodes, and it basically solves it inside each of these small elements, and then finally we kind of combine them to get an overall result.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now there are a lot of ways to improve this mesh. As you can see, the lines are not exactly straight. There are some deformations along the lines. There are a lot of ways to improve the mesh, and as you look at more complex problems, mesh plays a vital role in the final solution and the accuracy of the final solution. But our problem is pretty simple, so we can just use a face meshing technique. So you basically right click on mesh, go to insert and add any of these features. I can share a link with you later on, which has best mesh practices for students. Now we have already added face mesh, and go to geometry, click on the surface and hit apply. Now right click on the mesh and say update. So you see the mesh is much more uniform, with straight lines. Yeah. So that's a good enough mesh for our problem. It doesn't need more refinement. Now we want to give the initial and boundary conditions to our problem. So this is the initial temperature that's set to 22 degrees Celsius. What you can do is you right click on steady state thermal, go to insert, click on temperature, and as we said, we would give the lower edge, we'll keep the lower edge at a higher temperature. So let's give it say 100. So as you can see, this edge is now highlighted with this red marker. So that says it's being assigned a boundary condition. Right click on steady state thermal again, insert, and click on convection. Now we wanted to specify convection on the right boundary. So let's set that. We can apply, and this is the convection coefficient, which will represent by small h. You could give something like 10. Now, one thing is, so I specified a condition for the lower edge and to the right edge. So if I just leave the left and the top edges, by default, ANSYS Thermal assigns an insulated boundary condition to these two.
So nothing comes out, nothing comes in on those two sides.
Sorry, what?
You said so no heat comes in or out on those two sides?
Yeah. Okay. So by default, it's insulated.
And what about, so those two sides, the bottom one, you said heat is applied, and then the right one, what is that exactly? Convection, you said?
Yeah, convection is, it's a type of heat transfer.
Is it like releasing heat or is it absorbing heat?
It can go both ways. It depends.
Oh, both ways? Oh,
okay.
okay.
It's actually the air. So this is a solid surface, and then there's a fluid flow around the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the fluid extracts or delivers heat to the solid surface.
Okay, so it depends on the outside, like the temperature on the outside, and it kind of like, okay.
And the internal temperature as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the outside temperature, the air temperature, we refer to it as ambient temperature. So here, as you can see,
Mm-hmm.
the ambient, there's something called ambient temperature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's lower this as well. Let's see what happens. Okay. Now we have the initial condition. We have the boundary conditions. So we can solve it now. But one thing before that is you could right click on solution and insert everything that you are aiming to study. So say I want to look at the temperature. You go to thermal and click on temperature. Say you want to see heat flux, you can click on that. And then you can either use this solve icon here, or you can right click and hit solve. So this is where the solver performs this process, applying a numerical solution to find the values and select variable points. Okay, so now now it's done, right? So we have green ticks everywhere, all through the history tree. So you can click on temperature, and you can see the plot. So as we were expecting, the temperature would actually, so this is at a high temperature, so that's 100. That's a boundary condition.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no heat flow about these two surfaces. So the heat only had the right edge to kind of escape.
Oh, that's why it kind of curves, because there's convection on the right side.
Yeah, so the heat kind of leaves through this boundary towards the air, and that's the plot. Let's look at the heat flux.
What exactly is the heat flux?
Heat flux is the heat flow per unit area.
Oh, okay.
It's basically, it represents the heat flow. So as you can see, like the heat is being extracted from the bottom surface, and it kind of goes towards the right end.
Oh, so it shows like the direction that the heat is traveling almost.
Yeah, that's the intuitive description. Yeah. Then once you have the solution, there are a couple of things you could use to further study specific details. Say you want to see the temperature at a specific point. So there's this tool called probe, and you could scroll through the areas and you can see, you can look at the temperature at specific points. Then you could also look at the maximum value and the minimum value. You could also use section planes. This is usually done in a 3D model to kind of cut through the surface and look at the internal values.
Mm-hmm.
So once you do that, so this doesn't look like, this doesn't really matter in a 2D surface, but when there's a 3D geometry, you can cut through the surface and you can see that particular surface. And I think that's about it for a basic simulation.
Mm-hmm. That was good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So okay, one more thing is you could do you already have an ANSYS version installed on your system?
I have the Space Claim. Yeah, ANSYS Space Claim. That's the only one I have.
Okay, so you could basically install the student version, which is free for all the students and anyone who wants to use the basic functionality of ANSYS.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to you Google ANSYS student, and the first link is the software. I mean, you can get the software here. So there are 4 things: Discovery Live, Discovery AIM, ANSYS student, and ANSYS Skate student. So what we were working on was the workbench, right? This has like all these features of structural, CFD, electromagnetics, electronics, and
so that's kind of like an index, and then those are all just like specific programs in a way? Okay.
Yeah. So these are the analysis system, like analysis systems. It's basically the mathematical model and the type of physics you're solving.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to look at the component, you can basically you can create a geometry separately, and you can create a mesh separately. So what you want to do is you want to, let's say you have a geometry, you have imported a geometry, and you have created a mesh. Now you want to perform a fluid flow analysis. So you could drag Fluent here, and then you have to like drag mesh and place it in setup. So this basically it's very similar to what we did here, but we had a predefined template to kind of go through geometry, meshing, and solution.
Uh-huh.
Here it's like 2 different modules, but we're doing the same thing. We just connect mesh to setup, and then we go on from there. It's the same process.
Is there a simulation or program that does like moving parts, kind of like a piston, for example? If you wanted to like see how kind of you want to simulate it and see how the temperature affects, the movement of the piston, or like the heat flow, or mechanical.
Yeah, I think that's covered in dynamics.
Uh-huh.
I think there's also there's an IC engine module which you could use for those kind of problems.
Okay.
I'm not really familiar with this IC engine module, but I'm pretty sure YouTube has a lot of tutorials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mustafa, I have one engineer. He will go into that in detail.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And I will do this session by weeks, and
okay.
RF week also, or RF session.
All right. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So to download this, what we were using Workbench, you basically have to click on ANSYS student. and then just download it, and it's a very simple installation. So the main difference is you have a limitation on the number of elements and number of basically number of elements in a mesh. So there's a limit to how much refinement you can achieve in a student version, and a few restrictions on, I think, the range of analysis that you can do. But that's more than enough for any academic project. We have everything here.
So it's probably not as accurate, but it makes sense. It's only student version.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's about it. That's about today's presentation. You can feel free to connect on LinkedIn or send me an email, or if you have any other questions. Or
yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation and everything.
Yeah, no problem. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Very informative. I will just run it by you before I upload it on the SharePoint for others to see and others to benefit from.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good. Thank you a lot, and hope to stay in touch with you. And I know it will be very beneficial for other students.
Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. Thank you. You guys have a nice weekend.
You too. Thank you.
All right. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.